What if I told you there's a way to keep your food fresh for months without a fridge or freezer? No electricity, no fancy gadgets, just simple, time-tested methods that actually work. In today's video, I'm sharing 15 ways to preserve food without electricity. Whether you're prepping for emergencies, living off-grid, or just want to save on energy, these techniques will blow your mind. 1. Sun drying. This ancient method has been used for centuries across various cultures to preserve food. By removing moisture, sun drying inhibits the growth of bacteria and mold. To do this effectively, slice your fruits, vegetables, or herbs thinly to increase surface area for faster drying. Lay them out on a clean, flat surface, preferably on a tray or rack, in a sunny, well-ventilated area. Covering them with a fine mesh or cheesecloth will protect against insects and dust. For best results, turn the pieces occasionally to ensure even drying. Foods like tomatoes can be turned into sun-dried tomatoes, apples into dried apple rings, and herbs like basil or rosemary can be dried for later use in cooking. Once fully dried, store them in airtight containers in a cool, dark place to maintain their quality. Properly sun-dried foods can last for several months to a year. Fun fact, in Mediterranean regions, sun-drying has been a staple for preserving tomatoes and figs for centuries. 2. Salting. Salting is one of the most straightforward and effective ways to preserve food. The high concentration of salt draws moisture out of the food through osmosis, creating an environment where bacteria and other microorganisms cannot survive. For meats and fish, you can use dry salting, where you pack the food in layers of coarse salt, or wet salting, which involves soaking the food in a saltwater brine. Vegetables like green beans or cabbage can also be preserved by packing them in salt. After salting, it's crucial to store the food in a cool, dry place to prevent rehydration. Before consuming, especially for meats, rinse off the excess salt to reduce the sodium content. Properly salted foods can last from several months to a year depending on the type of food and storage conditions. Historically, salting was used by sailors on long voyages to preserve meat and fish. Pro tip: use non-iodized salt for preservation to avoid off flavors. Avoid oversalting veggies, as it can make them too tough to eat. 3rd, pickling. Pickling is a versatile method that uses acidity to preserve food. There are 2 main types: vinegar pickling and fermentation. For vinegar pickling, submerge vegetables like cucumbers, carrots, beets in a solution of vinegar, water, and spices. This method is quick and doesn't require canning if you plan to store the pickles in a cool place. For longer shelf life without refrigeration, you can process the jars in a water bath canner. Fermented pickles use salt and natural bacteria on the vegetables to create lactic acid, which preserves the food and gives it a tangy flavor. Both methods result in delicious, crunchy pickles that can last for months. Use fresh, firm vegetables and ensure they are completely covered by the pickling liquid to prevent spoilage. Pickling has been around for thousands of years, with ancient Egyptians pickling fish and vegetables in vinegar. A common mistake is using low-acidity vinegar. Always use at least 5% acidity for safety. 4th, smoking. Smoking is not only a preservation method, but also a way to infuse food with rich, smoky flavors. The process involves exposing food, typically meat or fish, to smoke from burning wood in a controlled environment, like a smoker or a homemade setup using a grill. The smoke contains compounds that have antimicrobial properties, helping to preserve the food by inhibiting bacterial growth. Additionally, the smoke dries the surface of the food, reducing moisture available for bacteria. Common smoked foods include salmon, ham, bacon, and jerky. For best results, use hardwoods like hickory, apple, or cherry for their mild, sweet smoke. After smoking, store the food in a cool, dry place, and it can last for several weeks to months. Smoking has been used since ancient times, with Native Americans smoking meat over open fires. Don't rush the process. Low and slow, smoking ensures better preservation and flavor. 5. Oil preservation. This method is perfect for herbs, garlic, and sun-dried tomatoes. By submerging these foods completely in oil, preferably extra virgin olive oil, you create an anaerobic environment that prevents the growth of aerobic bacteria and mold. The oil acts as a sealant, keeping air out and preserving the food's freshness. Use clean, dry ingredients and ensure they are fully covered by the oil to prevent spoilage. Store the jars in a cool, dark place to slow down oil oxidation. Properly preserved foods in oil can last for several months. Be cautious with low-acid foods like garlic, as there's a risk of botulism if not handled correctly. Add acid like lemon juice or vinegar for safety. This method has been used in Mediterranean cuisines for centuries, where olive oil is abundant. A common mistake is not drying ingredients thoroughly before submerging, which can lead to mold growth. 6. Fermentation. This is where things get funky, in a good way. Fermentation uses natural bacteria to preserve foods like cabbage for sauerkraut or cucumbers for kimchi. Mix the food with salt, pack it tightly in a jar, and let it sit for a few weeks. The bacteria convert sugars into lactic acid, creating an acidic environment that prevents spoilage. You'll get tangy, probiotic-rich food that lasts months and boosts gut health. Fermentation enhances nutritional value by increasing vitamins like B12 and improving digestibility. Use clean equipment and ensure the food is submerged in its brine to prevent mold. Fermentation has been practiced for millennia, from Korean kimchi to German sauerkraut. If you see mold on the surface, don't panic. It's usually harmless. Just skim it off. Avoid using metal containers, as the acidity can cause reactions that affect flavor. 7. Sugar preserving. This method involves boiling fruits like berries or peaches in a heavy sugar syrup to make jams or preserves. The high sugar content creates a hypertonic environment where bacteria cannot survive. Seal the preserves in clean jars, and they can last a year without refrigeration. They're delicious on toast or as dessert toppings. Sugar preserving became popular in Europe during the 18th century when sugar was more available. Use the right sugar-to-fruit ratio to ensure preservation. For high-pectin fruits like apples, you can use less sugar, while low-pectin fruits like strawberries may need added pectin. Sterilize jars and lids to prevent contamination. A common mistake is undercooking the jam, which can lead to spoilage. Ensure it reaches the gel stage before jarring. 8. Root cellaring. No electricity needed, just a cool, dark, humid spot like a basement or buried container. Root cellaring uses the Earth's natural temperature and humidity to keep root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, and onions fresh for months. Store them in sand or sawdust to regulate moisture and prevent sprouting. This method is ideal for bulk harvests and was common before refrigeration. Maintain temperatures between 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 40 degrees Fahrenheit with 80 to 90% humidity. Group vegetables by storage needs. Potatoes prefer cooler temperatures than onions. Root cellaring reduces food waste and ensures fresh produce all winter. If you lack a root cellar, use a cool basement or closet. Avoid storing near fruits like apples, which release ethylene gas that can cause sprouting. 9th, dehydration or air drying. Air drying indoors. No sun? No problem. Air drying is perfect for herbs, mushrooms, or thin fruit slices in a well-ventilated room. Hang them on strings or lay them on racks in a dry, airy space. This low-effort method concentrates flavors and nutrients, giving you shelf-stable goodies that last ages. Bundle herbs like rosemary or thyme and hang them upside down, or dry apple slices on trays. Ensure good airflow to prevent mold. In humid climates, a fan can help. Air drying has been used in Europe and Asia for centuries. Store dried food in airtight containers. Dried mushrooms add intense flavor to soups when rehydrated. 10. Canning or water bath. This method requires heat up front but no electricity afterward. Seal fruits, pickles, or tomatoes in jars, then boil them in a water bath to create a vacuum seal. Once cooled, they're shelf-stable for a year or more. Canning was popularized during World War II for food rationing. Follow tested recipes and processing times for safety, especially for low-acid foods. Use a water bath canner for high-acid foods, but low-acid foods need a pressure canner. Check jars for proper seals before storing in a cool, dark place. Canning lets you enjoy seasonal produce year-round. Label jars with dates and contents. A common mistake is not boiling long enough, which can lead to improper sealing. 11. Lacto-fermentation. Similar to regular fermentation, but we're talking dairy like yogurt or cheese. Use cultures to ferment milk in a jar, then store in a cool spot. You'll get creamy, tangy results that last weeks without a fridge. Lactic acid bacteria convert milk sugars into lactic acid, preserving the food. Yogurt is simple. Just mix milk with a starter culture and let it sit at room temperature. Cheese making is more involved but rewarding. Hard cheeses can age for months, while soft cheeses are ready quickly. Lacto-fermentation dates back to ancient Mesopotamia. It creates probiotic-rich foods for gut health. Use clean equipment and fresh milk to avoid contamination. Avoid over-fermenting yogurt, as it can become too sour. 12th. Clay pot storage. This ancient method uses unglazed clay pots to keep grains, legumes, or spices dry and pest-free. The porous clay regulates moisture, creating a perfect microclimate. Stack them in a dry corner and your staples stay fresh for months. Clay pot storage is common in Egypt and India for lentils and rice. Ensure pots are clean and dry before use and seal them tightly with lids or cloth. This method protects against pests like weevils in hot, dry climates. If you don't have clay pots, use glass jars with tight lids. Clay pot storage is sustainable and requires no modern equipment. Don't store in humid areas, as it can lead to mold. 13. Vinegar preservation. Beyond pickling, steep herbs or fruits in vinegar to preserve their flavor. Think rosemary-infused vinegar for cooking or raspberry vinegar for dressings. Store in a sealed bottle and it's good for up to a year. Vinegar's high acidity inhibits bacterial growth. Use leftover herbs or fruits to avoid waste. Place them in a clean jar, cover with vinegar, white, apple cider, or wine, and infuse for weeks. Strain and store in a cool, dark place. This method is prized in European cuisines. Use fresh, pesticide-free herbs for best flavor. A common mistake is not straining properly, which can cloud the vinegar. 14. ASH preservation. This old-school method works for eggs or root crops. Bury them in clean wood ash to block air and moisture, like a protective cocoon that keeps eggs fresh for months. Brush off the ash before use. The Cherokee used hickory ash for meat, and African farmers use it for tomatoes. Ash acts as a desiccant, absorbing moisture and stopping bacteria. Place eggs in a container with sifted ash, fully covered, and store in a cool, dry place. Root vegetables like carrots can also be stored this way. Use hardwood ash like oak for best results. Avoid using ash from treated wood as it can be toxic. 15. Waxing. Dip hard cheeses or fruits like apples in food-grade wax to seal out air like a protective coat. Store in a cool place to extend shelf life by weeks or months. Waxing prevents moisture loss and oxidation. It's effective for cheeses like cheddar or Gouda, keeping them moist while preventing mold. For apples, wax retains moisture and slows ripening. Use food-grade wax like paraffin. Ancient cultures waxed cheeses for long journeys. Store away from sunlight. A common mistake is applying wax too thinly. Ensure a solid coating for best results. Now that you've learned these 15 ways to preserve food without electricity, you might be wondering where to start. It depends on what you have and what you want to preserve. Beginners should try sun-drying or pickling, as they're easy and need little equipment. As you gain experience, explore smoking or fermenting. The key is proper techniques and cleanliness to prevent contamination. These methods ensure your food stays fresh and safe, even without electricity. And there you have it, 15 ways to preserve food without electricity. From sun-drying to waxing, these methods are practical, sustainable, and honestly kind of fun. Which one are you trying first? Drop it in the comments below and let's keep the conversation going. If you love this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more tips like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.